Hey everybody, welcome to the show, Board Game Reviews. In this video, we're looking at Warhammer Quest Cursed City. In this video itself, we're actually going to do a quick overview of the actual gameplay. If what you want, though, is a sample gameplay, a tutorial video, or an actual review of the game, check out the other videos in the series. After the break, come on back for a quick overview of Warhammer Quest Cursed City. Warhammer Quest Cursed City is a 1-to-4 player cooperative dungeon crawler where players are playing through a grand campaign where the grand goal is to defeat Radukar the Wolf and to save the city of Ulfenkarn from this horrible vampire and all of his horrible minions. This is a cooperative game where players are going to be taking 4 heroes. Every time you play the game, there's got to be at least 4 heroes. So if you're playing with less than 4 players, you're going to split the heroes up, but your goal is to go through all these multiple different missions, and every single game is going to allow you to level up your heroes. Every single one of these games will allow you to experience different missions, and some of these missions are going to play out differently, and some are going to have different rewards, but your ultimate goal is to get through all these missions to reach certain leveling milestones, and as you reach these leveling milestones, you can start taking out all the lieutenants of this horrible vampire. And by the time our heroes reach level 4, they themselves can go after the Grand Vampire himself. If they slay the Grand Vampire, they're going to win the game, completing this campaign, and saving the city of Ulfenkarn from this horrible beast. Or will they? Well, you'll find out by going through the full campaign of Warhammer Quest Cursed City. Well, the game of Warhammer Quest does take some classic tropes of your typical dungeon crawler. It does do a couple things that are a little bit unique, and the game does play quite differently. One of the first things that you're going to notice about this game is that our heroes can actually level up multiple levels. And as our heroes are going to level up, they're going to gain more powers because every single one of our players is going to control a hero, and all these heroes can level up in various different classes. And as they level up these classes, they're going to get extra abilities, extra powers, and different things that allow their heroes to flesh out and become much more powerful. Along with that, they're going to be experiencing this campaign-based system where every single time you play the game, you're going to decide if you're going to take a special kind of mission. And you must take on a certain amount of missions before you can actually start tackling the bad guys, because you can't actually start attacking the bad guys until you reach certain levels. Every single bad guy has a minimum level that you have to be before you tackle them, and it has to be your entire party of 4 heroes. And the nice thing about this game is this game comes with 8 different heroes. Every one of those heroes does play differently. They have different powers, different abilities, from the shady vampire hunter to the priestess to the big old ogre who wants nothing more than a great big snack as he's just hunting through the city for his next great meal. But all this grand amount of heroes are working on this grand quest, and the world is against them, because as they play this game, they're going to be fighting out the generals and lieutenants of this horrible vampire. All his minions of generals, all his minions of undead, his vampires, his bats, his rats, and everything will be taking over the city. Every time you play the game, you are going to start by picking which quest you're going to do. And there's multiple different quests in the game as you're going to play. You have your basic quests, which are going to be your hunt journeys. And your hunt journey is going to come with a certain amount of setup maps. These maps are going to be built the same way. And you're going to randomly select which one of these maps you're going to play when you play through this hunt. Or the next kind of adventures you can have is you can have a scavenge journey, and a scavenge journey is going to allow you to look for better artifacts, better treasures, because like I said, you're going to be leveling up your heroes with better experience and better gear as you're playing the game. And again, these scavenge maps do come with preset missions, and these maps are going to be laid out the same way, and you're going to randomly select which one of these maps you're going to go for every time you play one of these scavenge missions, or you do what's called a decapitation journey. Now, the nice thing about these decapitation journeys is they are a classic throwback to the original Warhammer Quest, where you're going to have a board that actually evolves as you play the game, and the game board is going to be randomized, and you're going to draw through a deck of exploration cards. As you're digging through this deck of exploration cards, you're going to be exploring the city that's going to randomize every time you play it. But the challenge is there's a grave tide that's going to be chasing you down, so you have this horrible thing that is chasing you down, giving this time pressure, forcing you to continuously to explore the mission, explore the dungeon in an effort to just escape and to get away from this grave tide. Because as this grave tide catches up to our heroes are going to start taking damage, because this is basically a giant zombie plague of undead, horrible creatures, horrible undead, and horrible spells are trying to take our heroes and slaughter them, so our heroes must constantly try to avoid this. Now, these 3 different basic mission types are going to allow our heroes to evolve and level up, because like I said, it's mandatory for our heroes to reach certain levels. Once our heroes reach certain levels, they can actually go on these quests to allow them to go after the grand bad guys themselves. And I don't want to give you any spoilers, but I'm just going to quickly show you how on the map you're going to see that you're going to have a basic mission that's going to be set up every time you play versus one of these bosses. And every time you go after these bosses, your success or your failure is going to judge the rest of the adventure. And after you defeat one of these bosses, they're actually going to be pretty much removed from the game, so you don't have to worry about fighting them again, because these bosses can pop up when we're doing these hunts and when we're doing these scavenging missions. So that's something you got to be constantly aware of. Now, the cool thing about Warhammer Quest Cursed City is this is a story-based game, and there's one way to win the game. That's by slaughtering Radukar himself. But there's multiple different ways to lose the game, and one of the big ways you can lose the game is if the fear level or the influence level ever gets too high. Because every time you go on one of these missions, the fear level or the influence level is going to go up, and it's going to fluctuate or may go down depending on the success of every single one of these missions. Do very well, and the influence and the fear may go in your favor. Fail these missions, and the influence and fear is going to slowly go up. If either one of these tracks manages to get to level 10, it doesn't matter how well you've been doing on the rest of the campaign, our heroes are going to lose the eventual adventure, and the campaign is going to be lost for all of our heroes. Now, the basic flow of the game is it's pretty simple. The game has a couple different interesting things. I've already mentioned a few cool things, but there's a few extra things about this game. The game has a time track, and as this time track goes around, you're going to be approaching towards the night phase. And what's important about the night phase? Well, when the night phase comes out, the enemies are going to become much more powerful. So that's something you need to watch out for. Also, each one of these missions has requirements that you need to get to be able to escape from this mission. Because as you're delving through these missions, you're trying to reach a goal. Succeed in this goal, and you're going to get to the extraction point where you're going to be taken away and you can go on to the next mission. Players will also rely on destiny dice, which will give them extra bonuses and possibly give them extra actions for actual heroes. But another really cool thing is actually how the activations of all our heroes work. Because at the start of every single round, every one of our heroes is going to roll their activation dice. And the amount of activation dice they have available to them is generally going to be 4 unless our heroes start suffering injuries. As our heroes start suffering more and more injuries, they're going to lose access to these destiny dice, because you only have as many destiny dice or as many action dice as are available to your hero based on the amount of wounds. And if our heroes take too many wounds, that means the only actions they have available to them are destiny dice that may be available. But again, the destiny dice are a very limited pool, and if one of our heroes takes damage when all 4 of their slots are filled up, that hero is actually going to be removed from the adventure. They've been defeated for this adventure unless the whims of dice are going to be in their favor. On top of that, players are going to be encountering a very unique encounter system where encounter cards will be revealed, and as they defeat these enemies, more encounter cards will be revealed to replace these encounters, and the difficulty of these encounters are going to be based on the level of the heroes. As the heroes level up, these encounters are going to be much more challenging, whether it's going to be more enemies, a more variety of enemies, or maybe the bosses themselves who have not been defeated are going to start coming on the board on some of these earlier hunts and some of these earlier missions. There's also a very nice, interesting initiative system for this game where players are not going to be rolling initiative dice. It's going to be based on the drawing of these cards. At the start of the round, players are going to shuffle up the initiative cards, and the player is going to activate in the order of initiative. But whether it's going to be a hero activation or it's going to be enemy activation, the enemy activation will be based on certain one of these encounter cards. Again, they're going to activate, and they get to go through a certain amount of AI, because every single encounter is going to have an AI that they get to go through as a behavior table. You're simply going to roll the dice for all the enemies on that behavior card, and they're all going to follow that activation. The game also uses some very nice dice mechanics, which are going to be based on rolling the dice to attack the enemies. Players are going to get defense rolls to prevent enemies from hurting them, and also some of the more powerful enemies also have their own defense stats, making it a lot harder to defeat these grand enemies. Can our heroes level up, defeat all the enemies of Radukar, manage to get to level 4, and finally take out the horrible vampire himself? That's the grand objective for Warhammer Quest Cursed City. Now, this is just a quick overview of the game. If you want to actually learn how to play the game, you can check out my tutorial video, or you can watch my full gameplay where I'm going to play through a complete hunt mission. It's probably going to run about 2 hours, maybe a little longer, because these hunt missions can run a little bit longer. Some of the other missions can be a little bit quicker, but the hunts generally have to be a little bit longer because you have to start defeating some of the captains and some of the champions for Radukar himself. On top of that, you can also check out my full review of the game where I'll give you my final opinions of the game of Warhammer Quest Cursed City. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll be sure to get to them as quickly as I can. You can also feel free to email me off-the-shelf board game reviews. That's otsbgr@gmail.com. I'll be sure to answer emails as quickly as I can. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this video content, think about supporting the channel over on Patreon. Just one simple $1 in the tip jar can help me cover my costs and help keep the lights on. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button. As always, thanks for watching.